everyone, and welcome to the session this afternoon. Welcome to the session this afternoon. Thanks for joining us. There was a big demand after the first session for Johan Botha to run the session again. So if your objectives are to improve your use of your current equipment and to generally just feel more confident in using your equipment and find a couple of tricks of the trade to look better on video conferences and on video if you need to record video. It gives me so much pleasure to introduce Johan Botha to you. He's a brilliant photographer. He's also my partner in Brand Love and a wonderful facilitator of our Brand Warrior program. So he's truly multi-purpose and feature rich. So it gives me so much pleasure to introduce him today to you. And every time I attend one of these sessions, I learn something new. All right, so welcome, Johan.
Hi, everybody. I just want to give it a couple of seconds to see if more people is going to join us before we formally start. In the meantime, so this is my world where I was based most of my life. I'm a still photographer. I lectured photography back in the day. And I really have a passion for photography. And I think a lot of the knowledge and the experience I've gained, I can bring over to the new world that we live in. So hopefully this is going to be very basic, just little tricks of the trade that I've found that really helps. And I hope I will be able to add some value to you. Okay, I think let's just jump in. So I'm going to do it presentation style, and sometimes I'll come back face to face. If you've got questions as we go along, I think just type it into the chat. I'll handle the questions after the session, if that's okay. Because I do have a little section for questions and answers. So really, if there's practical things that you struggle with, you're more than welcome. I've also made the session a little bit longer. The previous one, we ran out of time when we started discussing things. So I added another half an hour. So we should be fine to get right through all the content. Okay, so let's dive in. You must just bear with me. I'm just negotiating with Keynote. It's not always that easy to do. So made the session a little bit longer. The previous one we ran out of time when we started discussing things. So I added another half an hour. So we should be fine to get right through all the content. Okay, so let's dive in. You must just bear with me. I'm just negotiating with Keynote. It's not always that easy to do. So made the session a little bit longer. The previous one we ran out of time.
Sorry, Johan, that was me.
Oh, okay. I was just wondering
that was the live stream, if you hear yourself talking. All right, I'm going to mute myself and I'll be watching the chat. So if there's anything, I'll interrupt you respectfully.
Okay, and is my screen visible? Okay, if you can just give me a thumbs up.
Perfect. Screen is perfect.
Okay, great stuff. Okay, let's go. So as I say, really, I want to use this time just to give you a brief introduction on things you can do better when we do video conferencing like we're doing right now. And I think with the demand of producing content now, just how to get your phone to deliver better quality content for whatever purpose you need that. So I need to start with a little bit of a disclaimer. I'm a total Apple addict. So I speak mostly for Apple devices during the session, and my empathy to everybody who's not on Apple. um, but if I talk about something, you just need to go and find it on the Android device or whatever. I'm not familiar with Android at all, but I'm sure the settings will be there. You just need to find it in your settings menu if you want to change stuff. There's not a lot of that, but just be aware that most of my examples is based on iPhones and Apple devices. Okay, I'm going to very quickly. So I've broken down the agenda into basically a section on Zoom conferencing and little things that will help you there. And then we'll move over to smartphone video recording. There will be a little bit of an overlap. So the theory does apply to both sides and the know-how. Then if time permitting, I'll quickly talk a little bit about accessories and the ones I use and I love. We've got a very international crowd today, so hopefully you guys can still get packages from Amazon and so on. South Africa, we blocked now. We really cannot get anything that's not essentials. So if you don't have anything that you see, you might still be able to get hold of that. And then we'll have a little bit, there will be a chance for questions if there's anything you want to dive deeper into. Okay, so I think just to start with this whole concept of remote work, I think when this started for South Africa, it started now about 3 weeks ago. Brandlove decided to actually start about a week and a half before the official shutdown. We decided, okay, we're going to let people stay home. And as I'm watching the news and the stuff, it seems that more and more countries is following now. They're shutting down the one after the other, and you don't really have a choice. And I think, what does this mean in terms of challenges? So in the old days, before the virus, I think our challenges was, do you unsnooze the snooze button? Do you lie in a little bit more? Your challenge was maybe to take the dog out for a walk in the mornings. You had to decide what you wear, and then you had to sit in traffic and so on. And I think all of that changed overnight, and we moved into a new world, which I like to call the post-COVID-19 headaches world. And all of a sudden, I think our challenges, most people's challenges as employees or as business owners, really changed. And I think the things I'm hearing from our team is, shit, it really sucks inside. We cocked up, we can't get out. In my house, a lot of shut-ups is going on because I've got 3 children now running around me. So while we're trying to conduct things online, the children is all over the show. What the fuck is a mic? All of a sudden, people are challenged with new concepts and new pieces of equipment. Questions like, create online what? All of a sudden, your supervisor is demanding you to present something online or record something or an educational piece. And I think a common question or remark I'm hearing is, this is a PC or a laptop. It's definitely not a camera. So with that background, I want to just take you into what I see as, and I love to call it my triangle for success. When we use any kind of recording or video equipment, there's 3 things that's key to getting your content or your image really up to standard. And the first one is the lens. The lens is very important. It's always been, it's a thing that actually makes it all possible. The second thing that's key to success is good light. For for Zoom conferencing, but key to producing good quality content as well. Then there's the angle. The angle just refers to where's the lens relative to you as a person. You know, what is the angle you're shooting at. And then I want to throw in a fourth aspect, which I think when I started digging into the world of iPhoneography with my first iPhone, which was I think iPhone 5, I quickly realized that these cameras are able to produce awesome quality. But you need something, and you definitely need some support. And I think that has just become key for me. I love doing real photography with my stills cameras, but an iPhone or a smartphone has opened up my world completely as a photographer as well. You know, so it just gives me an opportunity to get in at angles that is not possible with a very big camera. It had the benefit of people are not as aware of a phone anymore. They're not worried. The moment you pick up a big camera with a wide lens on it, people shy away normally. But I found that if you want good quality, you need to stabilize the smartphone in some way or other. So the support section has become very, very critical for me. Okay, so if we can move into the first section, and the section on Zoom or video conferencing. I think in Brandlove we've adopted Zoom now permanently, almost as our tool for online meetings and things. I know Zoom has got a lot of bad press at the moment with privacy issues and so on. I think we're willing to take the chance for the users we're using it for. I mean, we're not revealing trade secrets during our Zoom calls. And from all the platforms we've tested, definitely Zoom is producing the best quality audio and video, and the user interface is quite easy. So I think, again, you know, the thing that's really become very evident very quickly is I think that people realize that they will say, you know, this is my laptop or my phone, and it's not a conferencing room. And I think the reality is that a lot of our clients in South Africa, they do conferencing every day, but it's in a set-up room. There's an IT department. You come in, somebody has one remote and they switch on the display and everything is done for them. I don't think it's so obvious for people that, you can do it on your own. And I think so the world has changed there as well, and the phone and the laptop has now become the conferencing room by necessity. We don't have a choice. So it is, you know, the phones and our computers allow us now to meet with people in real time all around the world, like the session we're having now, which is awesome. I mean, it's really brilliant. Okay, so if we can start looking at some of the tips, and really, I'm not going to talk about the software. If you've got questions around it, I can try and assist as far as I can, but I literally want to talk more on the technical or the hardware side of conferencing. So I think the first thing, and I don't want to insult anybody's intelligence, it's really not my intention, but I also talk to people and it's not always that obvious. So the first thing I think you need to do is find the lens on your device. With the phones, I think the phones is simpler. We use the back lens, and it is something that we can see and it's visible. The moment we move to the front lens, it becomes less obvious where it's actually located. If you look at the iPhone, for instance, if you don't know where it is, you're going to struggle to find it. It's not very obvious. And I think the same with a lot of the laptops. On Apple's, it's really well hidden. It's built into the design of the computer, so it's not really obvious that there's a lens sitting in the middle of the top of the screen. So I think make sure where your lens is. That's the first thing, because that will affect a couple of things: the angle of view and keeping stuff clean. So especially the front camera becomes especially important for video conferencing, because we want to see the screen. So by default, we're going to use the front camera, which I think people will better understand as the selfie camera on the phone. So try and figure out where the lens is sitting on your device that you're going to use. Okay, so that's the first thing. And I think then the real important part for me for Zoom conferences, it's not always just about sound quality and clear video quality on the other side. I think if people are sitting in a virtual meeting room with people, it gets very distracting if the other person is looking funny, if it's not positioned right. And I don't know if it's just because I'm a photographer, but my eyes always go to the person that the screen is not right, or the light is bad, or the angle is bad. And then I'm so irritated by that I don't focus on anything else. So it might be a photography quirk, but I think it's very important that we make sure that the camera lens is at your eye level. So I've showed you more or less what happens. So if we use a very low angle, meaning that we tilt our laptops up, like in the image that I'm showing, this is what people is going to see on the other side. It correlates to this cut off faces in the bottom, and you start seeing roofs and funny pictures and funny things on shelves, which you don't always like. And I think this is probably one of the biggest mistakes, and it's a mistake by accident in a sense, because this is the angle we use to work on a computer. If we work on a laptop, the machine is usually much lower than we are, and we compensate by tilting the screen back, which is fine if we type a document or we edit something or look at data, but it doesn't really work for video conferencing calls, as you can see. I mean, nobody wants to look at eyes and half a nose. The other side is less true, but it also happens where we get the lens angle too high, that the camera is sitting on top of us and it's looking down. And this one can become embarrassing, because I think most of us are now sitting in pajamas, pants, or we dress up on top. The moment the angle is not right, we start seeing all kinds of funny things. So I don't know if you can still see my camera, but I've got a dog on my lap and I'm sitting in short pants at the moment. So we would prefer to hide that away. So we definitely don't want high angles. So the angle we aim for is an eye level, where the lens of the camera is positioned more or less at the same height of our eyes. And I see most people in the screen has got that spot on, so well done on that. I'm working on a desktop, an Apple Mac, so my camera is on top of the screen. So I'm a tall guy, so this works naturally for me. So I'm getting the right angle. I think the problem starts when you work on a laptop, where the screen is much lower than you are, or a phone for that matter. So my advice there is to make sure you get the right angle. Just prop the laptop up on something, get it up higher. Books works very well. If you just stack a couple of magazines or heavy books. I'm using a little plastic box there just to lift it a little bit higher to get it more or less in line with my eyes. And there's no reason you can't really do that with the phone as well. You just stack it up and put a book behind it, and just prop it against the book. So that works very well. So I think that will already, just getting the angle of the lens right, that we look at the face level, people will recognize us, our faces don't look distorted, and there's no distracting things going on in the background. So that's definitely the first step, or the second step in our tips. That's another example of, you get awesome results when the lens is really at the right level. So the shot of Chantal through her webcam, her computer is also propped up, or not. She's also using an external camera, which is mounted on the same level as her eyes. So, and I think that is the look that we want during a conference call. It just looks more professional. And I think something that's always been key to photography is eye contact. So we want to show eye contact almost in a Zoom call as well, because it tells people that we are listening to them and we're taking in what they say. So this is the best way to achieve that. The third tip is getting the light better. And I know this might be a problem, because all of a sudden we have to work from home, and some of us in flats, some of us live with inmates, and we don't always have a choice of where we sit or where we work. But there's still little things I think that we can do to try and get it a little bit better. So definitely number one is if you can sit in front of a window with natural light. At the moment, I'm facing outwards towards a stacker door with some light coming in, and I mean the light is quite clean and even on me. So definitely, if you can sit in front of a window, like the setup I show in the picture, that is really perfect. You don't want direct sun coming in though. Okay, so if there's sun coming in, you need to draw the blinds. You don't want to block it out completely, but prevent direct light from coming in, because that just plays havoc with the computer's cameras. They struggle to handle that. So they're either going to overexpose because it's too bright and everything is just going to look horrible and washed out, or they're going to underexpose and you're going to fall into darkness with shards of very bright light. So, I mean, it is a camera, but it's also not a camera. It cannot handle everything that the world throws at it. So Chantal's office at the moment, where she's sitting, is exactly that example. So you can see there's direct sun hitting the blinds, but it's going through a diffuser blind, and it's just evening out the light, and we get a nice, soft, even light on the face. So again, I think windows just create beautiful, beautiful, even and soft lighting if you have that option. If you don't have a window to sit with that can produce that kind of light, you will have to bring in some kind of external light source. So previously, this example you see below was my previous setup. I've since turned my desk around, so I'm now facing the other side. It's the same wall that was behind my computer is now behind me. So, now I'm able to get direct light on my face, or natural light. But previously I used a setup like this with a ring light behind the computer screen that just produces very soft, even light as well. Ring lights in the old days was very, very expensive pieces of equipment for photographers. The Chinese market has taken over, and they're producing really good quality at very cheap prices. So if you're still able to get stuff delivered, you can really go and browse around for the cheapest one you can find. You're not going to use it for photography, you're just going to use it to produce nice soft light on your face. just a little bit of theory behind the ring light. The ring light is also called a model light or a beauty dish. And the reason for that is if you get makeovers and makeup artists, I love using it because it removes all shadows. Medical forensic labs, forensic teams in crime and so on, they also use ring lights to photograph injuries and what have you, because there's no shadows. It really just shows what it needs to show without any detail in it with shadows and so on. Also, if you just look at the bottom arrow, I'm using a Logitech external camera, so I'm not using the Max own camera. It's just they produce a little bit better quality, and the main reason I'm using it, so it's got speakers built in, so I'm talking to you through the Logitech camera speakers now at the moment. I just find that the speakers are definitely better than that a Mac has got on its own. But this is a typical setup that you can use to produce a similar effect as the window light. And as you can see, it's just so much simpler just to sit in front of the window and to set up all of this. I think tip number 4 is what I call deciphering the hieroglyphics. Not all, and I'm not sure whether this is a function of Zoom. I don't think it's a function of Zoom. I think it's a function of Apple and other computers. Not all computers turn the image around when you view it. So typically you will see it when you wear a t-shirt or there's something written behind you, a poster or something. All of a sudden, you're looking now in a mirror. So in Zoom, in the settings, there is a toggle that you can toggle mirror image on and off. So I know that the Macs automatically turns it around. But I've seen guys on PCs where they don't automatically turn around. And there's 2 problems with that. As I say, just if there's some kind of text in the scene and it's turned around again, it's going to distract people, because what is people going to do naturally? They're going to look at that and they're going to try and decipher that while they were supposed to listen to somebody. That's just human nature, I think. And the other thing is, this is not typically how people see you. I know this sounds very strange, but as a photographer, we see ourselves the way we see ourselves in the mirror. So we see the wrong image, but other people see a different image from us. And sometimes when you play with that, you definitely, if you toggle a photo of yourself between the mirror and unmirrored image, you're going to look odd for yourself, because we're not used to looking at ourselves in that way. So the opposite is happening now. With the mirror the wrong way around, we're seeing ourselves as we see us, but not as people recognize us typically. And that is also going to feel, people are going to sit with a feeling, hey, what's going on? This guy, something is not right. But what's going on is that it's a mirrored image. Our faces is not 100% symmetrical. So you do look different turned around. So if that's a problem, the way to test it, just write something on a piece of paper, hold it up and see what you can see in the screen. If you can't read it, then you need to go and find that setting in Zoom or in Google or in Skype, whatever you're using, and just toggle it around. It just turns it back the way that it should be. I think watching the backgrounds is a big one. Since we've started doing online conferences, and we had, on some of the sessions, there were like 30, 40 people, you see very funny things going on in people's houses and rooms and so on. So just be aware that people is not just seeing you, they're seeing everything that's behind you. So choose a spot that's clean, and I don't mean clean in the sense of not messy, but I mean clean, that's got even lines or not a lot of distracting things in the background. If you can have a wall or something bland, then go with that. Zoom has come up with this artificial backgrounds, and Olga had one on previously. I think you've got one on at the moment. I love the one with the stripes, actually. So the software does enable you these days to put in something behind you that you can take out artificially. You can take out what is in the scene. I found that I can be sometimes distracting. If you move around, there's this like halo effect going around you. But they do work. So if you're really in a spot where you cannot clean what's going on behind you, prop the artificial background on. I've read online, people are now having fun with that. So they choose a background with a monster that looks like it's eating you or whatever. So people are having fun with it as well. And I've also read, I think that Skype has introduced it now two days ago as well. So you are able to put an artificial background behind you on Skype as well. But I really love it. I play with it. Chantel gets very irritated with me sometimes in meetings because I also like to have fun with it. But yeah, check out what is going on behind you. It's always a good idea. Another tip that I just thought of now that I do, which is not in this thing, is before you jump onto a call, just go into your own meeting room. Just before you jump into the real thing, just start a new meeting for yourself and just quickly check what you see, because that is what people are going to see, when you're on the screen. And if everything looks cool, then go out and jump onto the scheduled meeting. Okay, so there's an artificial background. Besides apples, I'm also a Star Wars fanatic, so I love the Star Wars backgrounds. Okay, very important. Mute and stop video. It will literally keep you out of very bad positions. I found this online. It's hilarious. It's very small, but you can check the area there in the red circle. Okay, so this has become reality as well. That the funniest thing about this is an online meeting of social workers, which adds an extra spin to it. But I think we get lost with the technology, and we don't always realize that people can hear things and they can see things, and we just go about as if we're on WhatsApp messaging people. So there is a stop video button on Zoom, on Skype, on everybody. Use it when you need to. And I think the best advice for me is to always have the sound off, unless you want to talk, and then unmute yourself.
Johan, just a quick interruption. Your sound wasn't playing, so just for the people that maybe didn't catch the story, I think it's more effective with the audio on. But she basically walked into, because Johan's on his headphones, he's not playing the sound. But she basically walked into the bathroom, not thinking that people can see or hear her, and she then kind of propped her laptop up on the on the wash basin or something. So just, that kind of, I think we don't think about, as we would have walked with our phone into the toilet, people don't actually think.
Okay. No, sorry about that. I didn't realize it's going to take the sound away. I'll send the presentation to you guys in any case, but you can just go and Google this. It's all over the internet on YouTube. It's a real thing that happened. It wasn't set up for a joke. So quite funny. But yeah, remember to use the mute and the stop video screen. If we move over to the smartphone side of things, again, I think the demands has really changed. I cannot speak for everybody, but definitely in the world of brand love, as a face-to-face agency or consultancy, to be able to survive in this time, we had to make hard decisions very quickly, and I think we made this same decision that about 80% out there made, and that is to try and take our content online. So all of a sudden, there's a big demand to produce online content that we can reuse. So we need to record something. With that, the challenges came that we are in the middle of a lockdown, so we cannot bring a professional team in. I cannot even bring the people that needs to be recorded in, because I'm capable of doing that. I've got all the equipment, but I can't get the people in. So all of a sudden, this little thing is becoming the video camera of choice, because we don't really have a choice in it. So if we can look at the smartphone from a video perspective, I think, again, there's a couple of things that we just need to consider from a hardware side that's going to really help us produce better quality content. So Chase Jarvis, he's the father of iPhoneography. He was the first guy that sort of started saying that an iPhone can compete with the best cameras out there, and he started a whole genre called iPhoneography. And one of his famous quotes is that the best camera is the one you have with you. As a photographer, I do agree. I love documentary and journalism type of photography. And again, for me, it was always about telling a story. And if the story is not in the best quality, but people can still see the story, then I've succeeded as a photographer. So literally, if we think of, I don't know, big events or things that happened, and I think the release of Nelson Mandela, for instance, South Africa was quite a big thing, and I think worldwide a big thing. So what I'm trying to say is a photo taken of Nelson Mandela walking out of the prison after 27 years on a cell phone, might be very pixelated and the light is bad, is still better than not having a photograph. And I really think now in our new post-virus world, it applies more than ever, because this is what we're stuck with now, and we have to use it to the best of our ability. So if we can look at tips again, I think I just want to start before I give the tips is, and this is something I always told my photography students in the old days as well, is just take that extra second. Just take a minute and think about what you're doing. A lot of this stuff is just plain common sense or logic. But people, they rush in because they're overexcited and they just want to get things done, and they don't take the time just to think. Listen, if I do this, what will be the result of that? So first thing is slow down and just take a second before you start. We're talking about content now. We're not talking about live streaming. We're not talking about video conferencing. We're talking about something that you've got time, you're recording it, and you're going to use it a little bit later. So I think pro tip number one, keep your lens clean. It sounds stupid, but keeping the lenses clean are the #1 tip that I can give you. And we must keep the back and the front lenses clean. And that's why I started asking at the beginning, figure out where the lens is. Remember, phones are actually a phone, and we do use it, and it's sitting in our hands the whole day. We're touching it. Everything is touchscreen now. And we've got oily residue on our hands. If you put your finger on a glass or a mirror and you take it away, you will see what I mean. There's a little imprint of your fingerprint there, and it's usually oily. And oil and lenses doesn't work. The moment you get a smudge on a lens, it's going to give you like a ghosting effect. It's going to break your image up completely. So definitely my top tip is clean your lenses. And the best way to do it, don't ever buy any odd things. Don't buy things from Amazon telling you this is the best little lens cleaning liquid cloth or whatever. Don't buy purpose-made wipes and things like that. Those things most of the time will damage your lenses more than they will clean it. So the best thing, and I think the cheapest thing to buy is just one of this microfiber cloths. I'm sure they're available quite commonly around the world. I cannot believe that it's just something that we're going to find in South Africa. And the way we clean it, so I will typically have 2 of them. Sorry, I just want to jump out here quickly. So typically I will have 2 of them, and I always have them in a little plastic bag. Okay, so the advice, and this is straight from Apple's website. So we destroyed the computer screen about 4 years ago in our company using purpose-made cloths that was made for PCs. So the problem with that is that it doesn't consider that there's other technology going on. So Apple moved away from glass over the screens to some kind of other emulsion, and those cloths just took off the coatings from the screen, and we literally had to replace the screen. So I started digging into how do you clean. I know how to clean a camera lens, but how do you clean computer screens? And Apple suggests microfiber cloth. 2 of them. The first one you wet under tap water. You make it wet, and then you need to really rinse it out. You want to get it dry. Okay, so you want a wet cloth, but you don't want water dripping out of it. So if something's really dirty, you wet it, and then you wipe the screen down. And directly after that, you go in with a dry one and you polish the screen up again. And this works perfect for the phones as well. They always just take off all the smudges. So remember, now you've got the back lens and the front lens. So clean both sides. Okay. The front lens is even worse with smudges because we keep it against our ears most of the day, and there's even more oil on our faces than there is on our hands. So they smudge up because of the position. They smudge up immediately. So we need to clean them up as well, especially for video conferences and conferencing and so on. Okay, so definitely the microfiber cloths. No solution, no soap, just water. Dry it out very dry. Clean it, and then take a dry one and polish the moisture away on the screen or on the lens. Okay, so back here. Okay, my tip number 2, when we do content, and remember this is now slightly different from video conferencing. We want to produce better quality because we're producing content now. We're producing some kind of of a video, is always to use the back camera. Okay. The companies are literally spending millions of dollars in development on cameras in smartphones, and they spend most of that money on the back camera. People started remarking last year with Apple's iPhone 11 that Apple is actually moving away from a phone company into a camera company, because people are now buying phones for cameras instead of buying cameras. And I think it's a trend we're going to see much more going into the future. But that means that the best technology is built in at the back of your phone. The front resolution is just usually much lower, but there's much more to the cameras than just resolution. The software and everything is geared for working with the back cameras. So your editing capabilities and stuff is just so much more. So always, if you can, use the back camera for video production. Now I know that creates problems because you cannot see yourself, but there's also ways around that. So really only use the front camera when you have no other choice. Okay, and if I think of a scenario where you might not have a choice, is if you don't have a way to prop the camera up to make the camera stable on its own, and you have to have the camera in your hand for video recording, and that is not ideal. But let's say you're stuck in a situation like that, then I would definitely use the front camera so that I can see myself, because there's always a little bit of a zoom on the back cameras, and you're not going to be able to position yourself correctly in the frame if you can't see yourself. But if you have a choice, go to the back camera always. With that, then comes my number 3 tip, which is to stabilize the camera. You need some kind of a little tripod or some other way of stabilizing the thing. And what I mean by that is that the camera can stand without movement on its own. Okay, at the angle you want, that is not going to fall over, and there is no movement on the camera, because movement kills your content, and that is what's going to make it really, really bad. And in the accessories part, I will talk to you about the tripods I use. But for now, just figure out a way to stabilize the phone. Again, the best thing to use that I found is books. Books are quite heavy, so they can support the weight of the phone, and because they're almost like Lego blocks, you can build all kinds of structures with a book. So you can have a stack of books behind the phone, then you put the phone down, and you can stack 3 or 4 books in front of the phone without it reaching the lens, and you've got a stability platform that where your phone won't fall over, for instance. Something else that really works well, and I believe there's quite a few of them around during the virus period and lockdown, is wine bottles. If you have an empty wine bottle or a full bottle, even better. Wine bottles also, you can really maneuver them, you can prop them up, and you can position a phone against them. They don't move around. So it doesn't matter how it looks, try and stabilize the phone. I mean, people are not going to see how the video was taken. They're just going to see the actual recording. Then, and I think we spoke about this a little bit earlier during the Zoom part, is go towards the natural light. You know, it's natural light is always the best light to use. It's free most of the time, and it's just uncomplicated. So if you have a spot with open shade, and open shade is really a place where the shade is even. A tree is not really open shade because you get blotches of shadows. So I'm talking more of a patio area, or you know, if the sun is setting on the other side of the setting sun, you're going to start seeing open shade where the shade is evenly lit. So don't always think that you need bright light to get good quality. That is a misconception. It's always been a misconception. As a photographer of 25 years, I will never take photographs in sunlight, where most people think sunlight is best. So we want this soft, open, even light. So open shade. If you can find a spot in your house with nice even shade, that's perfect. Reflected light also works very well. So if you have a place with a white wall and you face the white wall, so the camera is sitting sort of at the wall's angle and shooting outwards, the light coming off a wall is usually also very, very smooth and even. Remember the window. The window is perfect. That really gives you the best quality of light, I think, in the situation that we find ourselves. So again, I think a lot of the times we can even use our laptop cameras to record things. As we are recording the Zoom call, for instance, this is a way of producing content in a sense. So if you've got a setup already with your laptop for a Zoom application, it is quite simple then to just prop your phone up against the laptop, because then that will also stabilize you, and you sit in the same position with that beautiful window light, and you can use that to produce good quality video as well. If you don't have any of those options, again, you will need to bring in some kind of external light, and you need to play with that. Isn't really hard or fast rules. The cameras are really good these days. They can cope with most things. So even a small bed lamp or something against a white wall or something can produce light, but you need to play around with that. My advice would be try and record your stuff during the day when you have natural light. But if you cannot, play around with external lights and find something that produces quality that is acceptable to you. Another thing is, and this came from some research that YouTube made a couple of years back, and I found that viewers are still okay if a video, the quality of the video is not good. If it's shaky footage or it's slightly out of focus, people are fine with that as long as the sound is good. And I think that applies even more for online content. When we're producing things where we explain something to our clients, or if we are a teacher that needs to teach somebody, or whatever the case might be, the data gets transferred through the sound, not really the visual, in most of the things we're going to produce, okay? Because I don't think we're making movies really. We are trying to find a way to record information, and we can transfer that information onto somebody else. So sound is key. So a couple of things you can think about when you consider the sound is, first thing, put the camera or the phone in airplane mode. Okay, because that's a common mistake we don't always do. And the problem is, you're in the middle of a 20-minute video, then a WhatsApp comes through and whatever in the background, or a phone call comes in and the phone starts ringing, and it blocks out your video, and it's just destroying everything you've done. So simple tip, get it onto the airplane mode that you know everything is working, but nothing can come in. This is going to sound very funny, but a cluttered space is better than an empty space for sound. If you sit in an empty room, you're going to start hearing those echoes. It's the sound is bouncing back onto the mic, and it sounds like you're in a tin or something. So the very successful podcasters, some of these guys will do a podcast. They will go and sit in their cars for instance, or a laundry room, a really cluttered place, because that produces the best sound. There's a lot of stuff that can absorb the lights from the sound from bouncing off. Okay, so in our minds, a clean room, we think that will be better with nothing in it, but it's not. So when we produce in BrandLove, sometimes when we produce video content, I will take two whiteboards on wheels. I will position them right next to Chantal, just out of the sight of the lens, that we can't see them, and then I will throw blankets over them. So that material will just absorb all kinds of and the sound comes out quite clean on the other side. Definitely in my house, I need to communicate my intention to record. And I think that's going to apply to a lot of people. We are sharing our offices and our homes with family and friends and kids and dogs and birds and snakes and what have you. So tell people, listen, just give me half an hour. Don't come to this side of the room or this side of the house. I'm busy recording stuff. Because there is nothing as irritating and frustrating as when you recorded 20 minutes of good stuff and then the kids come bursting in and making jokes and you record that and you have to start all over again. So just tell people, listen, can I have 20 minutes? I need to make a video recording. Please give me a chance. And then you can start doing what you want to do again. Okay, so that's simple question to ask people, and I will respect it most of the time. If you can use an external mic, then that's super. If you have an external mic, again, so in South Africa, we stop. We cannot order things in that we don't have anymore. The iPhone mics, I know for a fact the phone mics do record quite well video if the distance is not too far. If you within say 2 meters of your phone when you record, the sound is not too bad if you record it in a cluttered space where it absorbs all echoes, but it's not ideal. The technology on the phones is again, unfortunately, it's designed to produce good quality phone calls, and that means it listens to backgrounds and it typically adjusts itself automatically. So what might happen is you're busy recording, everything is going well, then a truck or a car drives in the background, the phone hears that and it's going to change the levels of the mic to compensate for that. And then you start hearing different sound levels on your recording. That is not the case when you use external mics because it records on one level. Okay. I don't want to talk too much about this. This is getting really technical now, and it's about the recording quality. Most phones will give you an option what quality you want to record your video in. Again, we're not trying to. I don't think we're trying to get anything entered into an Oscars panel or a Cannes Lions Cannes competition or whatever. Don't use 4K. It's senseless. The problem with the high resolution, it's going to chew up your data and it's going to take your bandwidth if you upload videos and stuff like that. So I can't see the purpose of very good quality here. If you use a decent quality, my normal setting will be 1080p at 30 frames per second. A lot of technical stuff, but that means it is suitable for high definition television. And the frames per second is typically what movies and TV shows are shot in. So you get the same kind of effect. You don't need to use anything higher than that, really. It's if you look at the bottom, this is on my Apple phone. I'm using 60 megabits of data per minute. If I shoot at the 1080p, if the moment I move on to 4K, you know, it jumps to 170. It's almost 3 times the amount of data that's being used. And again, we're not going to see anything more or less. So find a decent quality that's suitable to upload to YouTube or wherever you're going to use the information. Okay, if we quickly look at composing the frame, just how do we compose the shot? I don't want to spend too much time on this. This is a lot of personal preferences and what looks good for you. I think the important to record any kind of content, just set up the shot before you start shooting. You know, position the camera or the phone, look at the background, look at what's going to be recorded in the whole frame. Get somebody to stand in the position you would stand if you're recording it yourself, and make sure it just looks nice. So fix the camera position, make sure it's fixed in one position. Find a nice angle, something that looks appealing. And typically, I think for the stuff most people produce, just normal eye level front facing is king. View the complete area. Again, it's very similar to the zoom. Make sure there's no distracting things that people is going to see in the background. Declutter and prep the area if you need to. You know, you can always make it beautiful by putting cushions down or removing stuff that's distracting. But view it as a movie set and clean it up and position things the way that it looks nice in the photograph. And then I think a key, especially when you photograph yourself, is to allow enough space for yourself to move around in, that you don't move out of the frame. So I would typically take masking tape and tape an area down where I know I can move within this area without leaving the frame. Okay, if we can quickly talk a little bit about accessories. So the accessories I use and love is definitely the first one is the phone clamps, and we need them to actually be able to mount the phones onto a tripod of some sorts. So I just want to stop sharing my screen again quickly. So these little ones, they're quite easy to order online. It's little Manfrotto ones, little plastic clamps. They're not very expensive, but they work very well. So the reason why we need this, again, it's a phone doesn't have any kind of tripod socket on it, which I would love for them just to put in, because there's enough space that they can do it. But it means we cannot, if we have some kind of tripod, we cannot screw the tripod into the phone. Okay, so we need to overcome that, and the way we do it is by using a little phone clamp that allows us to clamp the phone in, and then we can actually mount it. So again, if you can still get Amazon orders in, there is hundreds and hundreds of different options available online. These little Manfrotto ones, they work very well. They're quite sturdy, quite strong. I'm also using a Joby. This is a metal one, a little bit stronger. What I love about them is that they've got the ability to tilt, so you can turn the phone from upright to sideways quite easily, where these ones don't allow you to tilt the phone really. Okay, but you need to find some kind of clamp that you can actually mount the phone in, and then mount that onto a tripod if you want to stabilize your phone. Okay, that is essential. So if you want to stabilize, you need some kind of clamp. Okay, sorry, we can come back here. Okay, going with the clamp, the second thing you will need is a mini tripod. Again, there is hundreds and hundreds of different options available. Some of them are cheap, some of them are very expensive. The one on the right, the little Manfrotto again, very good quality for the price. They're not that expensive. They're very small. You can really throw them into a laptop bag quite easily. They don't take a lot of space. They're not heavy. So if you can get a hold of one of these little Manfrottos, if you're going to get a little bit more serious about your online production, you might want to upgrade to something in that shot with the 3, the one in the background. Is a Siri, very well made, but very expensive. Their benefits is that I can extend, so you can very easily take them higher. They even come with an extra section, so you can get quite high up with them and so on. But you need to just find something that works for your own needs. And again, the Manfrottos with the little Manfrotto clamps are going to be your cheapest option, and it's really sturdy. They protect your phone. They're not going to fall over. All right. All right. Then this is now moving into the more serious side of things. Unfortunately, if you want to mount an external microphone, you will need some kind of what is called the phone rig. And the rig is really a little frame that allows you to mount a lot of stuff onto it. So professional filmmakers will, using smartphones, will use something like this. These are ones, it's from Green Grip. Chantal brought them in just on the back of the coronavirus when we came back to South Africa from a trip to the States. They're very hard to find in South Africa, unfortunately, but in America and Europe, they're quite easy to find. This is getting now serious. So I won't just go and invest a lot of money into these things if you're not serious about creating a lot of content. But I do make life very, very easy. As you can see in the photograph, you can mount lights on very simply. You can mount microphones. You can mount the whole thing onto a tripod. They really make your life very, very, very simple if you can find one of them. So if you want to go for an external microphone, again, you will need some kind of rig to be able to put them on. I'm currently using a little Rode shotgun microphone, the one that's in the photograph there. I don't know if you can see my video, but they're very small. They're smaller than a finger, really. And they produce awesome quality sound. One problem with Apple phones is that you need a converter to be able to use them on your phone. I don't think people using Android phones has got the same issue, but all Apple microphones has got 4 contacts on the ends of their jacks, microphone jacks. And the 4th contact allows it to be recognized as a microphone. So you need to buy something that converts the signal, and it's literally just a little extra piece of wire. It's not expensive, but you just need to remember that if you buy a microphone for an Apple phone, you will need to find an auxiliary adapter for it to be able to work on your phone. External lights, again, there's many options available. Again, it's awesome if you've got a rig to put them on, and that is how they're going to help you the most. but they're quite easy to mount on a tripod on their own. So if you've got little Manfrotto mini tripod, you can very easily mount them onto any kind of small tripod, because they don't have to sit on your phone the whole time. I mean, it's actually better to have your lights not on the phone, but at nice angles coming towards you. So again, if you browse online, the two examples there, the one on the left-hand side is a Loom Cube. Awesome quality. They're waterproof, they're metallic, they're built to last, but you also pay for them. So they become very expensive. Where the version on the right-hand side, you can pick them up for literally, I think in America, they're going for something like $20. And they're not expensive, but they work just as well. So if you need external lights, definitely go for LEDs, because they're very bright, they're small, and they don't heat up. They don't get warm. But again, you can basically use any light that you've got in your house, a barbecue light or a bed lamp or whatever you have. Just play around with the lights. Okay, that's the presentation. So we can move into questions and answers if you like. I just want to get out of here again. Okay. So that is quite a bit of information now, but really, if you've got anything that you want to ask me, if you've got any questions around Zoom, we can try and answer that for you as well.
Johan, I'm just going to unmute people for you. Any questions?
Johan, how's it? It's Carmen.
Hi.
Hi, how you doing?
Good.
Good. Just a quick question from my side. My video settings that I have is FHD, which is 1920 by 1080, 1:1, which is 1072 by 1072, and then HD, which is 1280 by 720, and VGA at 640 by 480. Which one would you recommend?
Do any of them give the frames per second?
Unfortunately not.
Can you just give me the first one again?
The first one is FHD, a 1920 by 1080. I can happily Google it as well. I thought you might have a quick response.
I think that is just a slightly lower than high definition. So it's probably going to be similar to 720 quality, which is the old televisions we had in South Africa in the old days. That is 720. So again, for if you're going to upload your stuff to YouTube, even that low setting is perfect. I would typically just go for the level up from that one. If there's just a straight HD on your options. The reason for that is if you need to crop a little bit, if you want to do editing afterwards and you want to tighten the frame or something, there's just a little bit more detail that will allow you to go and edit a little bit on the footage. If you're not going to edit, then the quality should be fine for YouTube. Just remember, I don't know, everybody, and you're sitting in South Africa as well. It's costing us money sitting and doing this now. You know, data is expensive. So when we start uploading videos, we don't want to upload 4K just to see a face talking. You know, there's no sense, because you're just going to chew up your data. It slows down your network while you upload. So I found that for YouTube 720, but the 1080p, the high definition is perfect. What phone is that?
It's a Samsung Galaxy, one of the slightly older models. But the reason as to why I was asking you is because also of the audience and being in South Africa, the access to data. So
Yes.
I'm trying to build an offering that is as data friendly as possible, but to not compromise on quality too much.
Yeah.
And just make
Yeah,
sure that
so-
I'm optimizing the content as much as possible.
Yeah. So again, if it's going to depend on the content you wanna upload. So if you need to communicate like script or text, that changes it slightly. But I do agree, if it's just you talking, and you don't show any diagrams or whatever, just go for the lowest setting, because people will access it on their phones. They're not going to access it on a computer or whatever, and then the quality really doesn't make so much or play such a big role. So just go for the lowest quality you've got. Maybe test it out first on a small clip, upload it, and just see what you see on YouTube and whether it's acceptable.
Okay, perfect.
If you're not
Thanks
happy,
so much.
just jump to the next option you've got.
Excellent, and thanks so much for all those tips. They're really very, very useful, especially when you're coaching
Okay.
and need to make eye contact as well.
Yeah. So that is the eye contact one. So Chantal has got little tricks around that as well, because especially when you start recording yourself, it becomes very difficult. I've struggled this week with producing stuff, and yeah. So Chantal takes a post-it note and draws a little happy face on it and just sticks it right next to her lens, and then she talks to the little post-it note. So that's a nice tip. On the video conference calls, what I found works very well is if you go to the speaker view, where the speaker actually becomes bigger when he speaks. That sort of forces you to look at that person and not look at the grid all around. So that
Absolutely. Yeah,
also keeps...
there's you can also hide the speaker view. I was reading an article the other day about the impact psychologically when you're looking at yourself in that little window. It actually deters you completely from making eye contact.
Yeah.
Because you can become so focused on whether your hair is straight or not.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's very true. And again, I think, and it's so we've been struggling with this now for the last 3 weeks, and getting over yourself, because it's strange. I mean, we're not used to seeing ourselves and hearing ourselves. Again, I think we just need to remember we're trying to help our clients the best way we can. We're not movie stars. We weren't trained as actors. So even if it looks a little bit odd, it's still better than not doing it. So I think we need to be kind to ourselves as well when we record content. This is not our normal day jobs. It might become our normal day jobs, but I mean, we weren't trying to do this really. That kindness goes a long way.
Great. Thanks very much for all the sharing and that input as well.
Howard?
Yeah, Johan, thank you for thank you for your talk. It's very inspiring, pragmatic as well. Love how you started with the basics and then you went through the best to-dos and techniques. Just to share with you, I've actually purchased already a ring light.
Oh, awesome! Wow.
Yeah. So this is off Noon. Noon is supposedly, if you've been here before, it's souk.com, and then this is their main competitor. So we only have Amazon over here, and we've got Noon, or it used to be souk.com. I've got a question when it comes to experimenting. Have you been experimenting with 2 cameras, given that you have 1 camera inbuilt within your laptop, as well as you've plugged in an external camera? And my question revolves around like a 2 camera setup where you're wanting to probably show something like on a physical space, and then at the same time keep your other camera focused on the speaker. Have you ever tried anything like that?
We have started playing with that. That's typically the guys are talking about B-roll. B-roll is different angles that you're going to cut in on your main recording. The problem with that is you need to go to an editing stage. There isn't a simple solution to just do that seamlessly almost. What Apple, the new phones are doing, and I think I saw you've got an iPhone there. So the new iPhones has the ability to record the front and the back camera at the same time. So if you're going to go and Google that a bit and see if your model can do it. So you could be able to show the back camera, let's say, towards the XR.
I've got the iPhone 7 Plus.
7 Plus. Okay, I'm not sure if that model will do it, but just go and Google it. So you can get the front and the back on one video. I know that. I haven't played with that. Then there's also something. Do you have an iPad perhaps?
Yes, I do. An iPad.
Okay. I'm going to type it in. There's an app called Switch. I'm not sure how they spell it, but I think it's just spelled like that. Chantal, do you know?
I'm quickly looking it up. Yeah,
So
it's called Switcher Studio. It's got. I can pop you a link. I can pop you a link to it. So Jan, do you want me to take this one? So you can from there you can connect multiple devices, but you need someone to operate that studio. Look at how it's signaling his little girl to say no, go away. So from the Switcher Studio, someone needs to operate it, but you can literally set up an iPad camera and a phone camera and move between the two, and it'll actually record that. So that's almost like you build a little video studio with this Switcher app. And then there's also a way that you can use your iPhone as an external camera on your Mac. So you can connect to the iPhone as being your camera, which immediately gives you just a whole lot higher quality imagery when you want to do a recording or when you want to zoom. So there's a couple of pieces of additional software that you can play with. I've used my iPhone as a zoom camera before when I'm with clients and I actually need to get a wide angle on a big room. And the Switcher Studio, we've got limited experience with that. I think I've used it once or twice, but it is really good. And I suppose once you know how to work it, it can be very effective. What I personally do not want, and we've been recording a whole lot of training videos in the last week, is I don't want editing. So I record my videos. I use Filmic Pro to record the videos. I set up a remote on my iPad when I use my iPhone for the recording so that I can be smiling at the camera by the time I hit record, so I don't have to trim it too much. And then for editing, and Johan, we might put together a little webinar just for the tools side. But there's a great editing platform that I use on my phone called InShot. So I literally trim my video with InShot. I put a intro little sound clip in there. I can even put my text overlay so that this is really my editing tool. I don't want to do a lot more in terms of doing it on my Mac. So I want to shorten my production time and my time to launch as much as possible.
Yeah, and
thank you, Chantal. Thank you, Johan. Sorry.
That Switcher is a free app, so it doesn't have ads and stuff on. It's just a straight free app for some reason. It works quite well. There's paid options as well, but the Switcher is almost the first guys that started doing this. We've got a good friend that owns a radio station, and it does a lot of live streaming and stuff as well, and they actually use it professionally as a mixer box, almost like it would have been with real cameras and somebody mixing in the clips. As Chantal was saying, you know, the problem with two cameras coming in from different sources, you need to take that into editing, and the editing is not a problem, but it's aligning the two frames to align with the speech. So it's getting them to sync with one another that is sometimes quite difficult. That in-shot, what is it called, Chantal? That is quite a very straightforward editing app to use. I prefer almost iMovie. That's free. iMovie is not that good on the phone itself, but on my computer, I don't use the complicated stuff. I will just use iMovie because that allows me just to blend in and out a little bit. But Chantal is correct in saying, I mean, we shot an online course a while back. The actual recording took 1 day and the editing took like a week. Editing takes a lot of time. So if you can get away from that by using something like Switzer, where you just blend your frames in, that is first prize.
And then another cool tool that I'll quickly mention is something called Loom, Loom, and I've put Switcher Studio in the link for you. I'm going to put Loom in there as well. Let me just go. I think it took the wrong link now, but if you go to Loom, you can very easily record videos with, you can record a video of yourself presenting a PowerPoint pack or pretty much any slide pack. And it's got quite a cool interface. I'm going to very quickly just share my screen with you. But this is a really fast way to very quickly record a slide pack. So this is an example of a session I did for an online conference.
I want to share a few of my thoughts with you around culture. Culture is, you know, I had a mentor who said culture.
So you can see it just grabs the video from my PC. It's recording me and my slide pack at the same time. And by the time I'm finished talking through that slide pack, I've got a finished video. So that's another tool to use.
Sorry, Chantal. That's very interesting. So, do you have like a one laptop setup, or do you have like one camera and then your slides are being presented on the other screen? Based on that.
Yeah. So what I did with this is because I'm using an external. So I'm actually using our conference room camera, which I'm going to quickly I can quickly show you what that looks like. I'm just going to quickly. So now I'm swapping my video now to my FaceTime camera on my MacBook. All right, so you can see immediately it's a different light quality, and then my conference room camera is one of these that's got the kind of the audio at the bottom and the camera at the top. So this really helps so that I don't present on two screens. I need to present on the screen that's closest to my camera so that the video recording looks as natural as possible. Does that answer your question, Howard?
Yeah, that's very interesting. It's because I think we're already moving on the realm of post-production right now versus earlier, which what Johan was talking about, which is video recording and production. Yeah. And I see that the market would also go to post-production, given that not everybody is going to be inside the room for like a specific meeting. Hence, you would still have to quickly edit that and then dish that out to I don't know, maybe your organization or your clients or whatnot. And yeah, very good point when calling out post-production needs a lot of tender TLC, tender loving care. Yeah.
I really try and record. What I did for this conference is I recorded a clip in our boardroom where you've got a full shot of me. I'm talking straight to the camera. Then I went into producing the presentation pack with Loom, which is another video clip. And then I had a sketch note, which I did on my iPad, and I used a tool called Explain Everything to sketch and narrate at the same time. So I've got a very interesting presentation because it's 3 different video styles that kind of keep the audience engaged. But the editing of that probably took me less than 10 minutes. And I did that in InShot just by airdropping the video from my iPad to my iPhone. And then once I was finished with that, I dropped it to my Mac. I uploaded it to Google Drive and sent it to the conference organizer. So, you know, I don't have the skills. I don't have the patience to actually treat the video afterwards. So I want to record it right. And this InShot on the phone is idiot proof. You know, the way it drags the trimming at the beginning and the end of the video, and even how I've had to train myself to look at the camera. And before I start, I wait, I smile, talk a little bit slower. And at the end again, keep looking at the camera, smile. So you have enough to trim. And I'm super animated. So I pull my face in freaking the weirdest possible way. So I've really got to focus to create that the book ends at the beginning and the end of the video.
Oh, thank you for sharing that. That's very insightful. It's like video orchestration at the same time, video presenting. It's like proper stagecraft as well.
Yeah. And what I do with those videos is, if you haven't got these Rode microphones are just absolutely incredible. And what I did with that particular conference presentation is I recorded this straight into my iPhone. Then when I came back to my Mac and I recorded the presentation, I plugged the same microphone into my Mac. And when I narrated the sketch note on my iPad, I used the same microphone, which means, you know, I've got the same quality of sound across the 3 videos. I'm not relying on a different piece of equipment. The levels might be not the same. And that's something, again, you know, I kind of clip this on and I try and get myself to talk at the same volume, which doesn't always happen. So that's something that's really cool when you've got an external mic. The other thing that we do often, which is a very, very quick way to generate content, is, for example, for the skills. And what I'll do, I'll give you all. We're about to launch our training platform. I'll give you a code which you can use for the training platform if you want to go and see what we've done in there. But let's say we have to do an interpersonal skill and we do a role play. We would do that role play on Zoom, record that role play on Zoom, and make sure we just trim it and we make it nice and neat, and then we'll upload that to the training platform. So Zoom as a content creation tool can also be really effective if you plan it properly, and if you use it kind of in a clever, interesting way. One of the role plays I did with Marilee, we actually faced each other. So her video screen, she was looking straight ahead. I was looking straight ahead. I had a little sticky note with a face on my flip chart, and I was talking to my flip chart, which immediately gives the sense that we're talking to each other, but we're in different screens. But we're just creating, because our brains try and make sense of an interaction, it actually looks like we're talking to each other, even though we're in different locations. Which, for a role play, it just makes the person looking at it, it gives them a sense of comfort that the role play is really happening. It's not just, you know, 2 people staring straight at a camera into Zoom. So there's nice fun tricks that you can do to just make your content more interesting.
Thank you for sharing that. It's really awesome. It just blows my mind already. I'm already thinking of like studio setup, very important, something that's really to be explored by everybody right now, especially those who create webinars and as you both are doing online trainings. Cool. Thank you.
Absolutely. And I mean, I'm giving you the invitation, Howard. If there's anything you want to bounce off me, or any of the ideas you want to test with me, I mean, feel free to email me, me or Johan, or if you email hello@brandlove.co.za, you get hold of both of us.
Yep, 100%, 100%. Yeah, I'm already, conceptualizing on like possible setups, like just taking a step back again. Why I asked Johan that original question, it's because as service designers and experience designers, we still fancy doing pen and paper and physical design. So our research walls are still in a traditional setup, and our clients are also used to that, especially that we have onboard them to that process. They're already savvy and comfortable in that manner. And then you come and introduce Zoom again and Miro, and it's another learning curve for them, right? So it's like, why not we still try to work traditionally, but leverage on like studio setup. I was thinking in that sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so I think it's I've even our customer experience masterclass was recorded with me writing on a whiteboard on a flip chart, and then what I would do, the video recording would be me working on the flip chart. I would then do a sketch note of the flip chart that I've just drawn on, and Johan would overlay that sketch note onto the video as an image when I work on the flip chart. And then getting kind of nice close shots. I think for me, I mean, I use these Neuland pens, and I'm like you see my office is also full of Post-it notes. They're never going to get me away from paper. I love paper and those pens. I just love it way too much. But so my way of thinking and my way of explaining is when I draw. And we actually record the videos like that, and then I sketch note it. And we have an electronic version of that. So I'm going to give you access to the Customer Experience Masterclass that we're launching on our new platform. I'll send you a code, and you can just go and have a look. And if you come up with ideas, or if you want to be in one of our presentations, we can always jam and just see how it goes. All right. So the invitation.
100%. That's where we could cross-pollinate techniques and then find unique insights, and I think that goes for everybody in the room. The more that you experiment, the more that you learn, and the more that you do, essentially.
Yeah, absolutely. Juliet, I see you've got the most beautiful red on your head. I wish I had one. I'm about to shave all my hair.
You don't want to know what's hiding under there.
Oh, you'll see next week. There'll be nothing hiding under my headdress, eh?
Oh, we're trying to cope since all the salons are closed.
Yes, yes, I know. Just look at this.
All right, I'm so excited about this. I was really looking forward to it because Chantel, we had a conversation on email some time back, and I told you that I am challenging myself to conduct one of these online trainings and workshops, and I managed to do one.
Oh, stunning. Well done.
Yeah, I used Mural and Microsoft Teams. That's what we use for work. There is another one scheduled, and I'm going to train design thinking for our HR team. So yeah, I'm excited. I'm trying to pick up as much as I can on how to conduct online trainings for a large group of people. I like that. I loved the feature where on Zoom where you can take a few people into a room for a discussion. It saves on time, and you're able to make the training very interesting. And this I actually learned from the first webinar that I participated in, that Chantel was leading. So I'm so excited. Thank you so much for the tips, Johan. I could already see all the things I was doing wrong. And I can now change that to make my sessions more interesting and less distracting. Thank you very much, guys.
Fantastic, stunning. And if you are hosting online webinars or workshops and you want Johan just to hop on and give you a little bit of feedback, just let him watch you, let him watch the angle of your camera, and if you want a little bit of coaching, you can also invite your hand to the workshop, and he can give you some feedback. I think that's how we learn. We're fortunate to be part of a team of 6 people where we give each other feedback, and that's how we get better. So yeah, what an
unfortunately, I do not have all those fancy gadgets yet, but I'm working with what I have. I have a pretty nice camera. My laptop camera is quite good, as you can see, and that's what I have. And the best camera is the one you have, right?
Absolutely. And your camera looks beautiful. And I want to say to you, whatever's in the corner there at the back, that cloth with the red stripes, I mean, that is beautiful. I mean, sometimes what Johan has done is even just put a we've got black cloth, we've got a white cloth, sometimes just putting a mock curtain. It doesn't even have to look like a curtain behind you, can make it look much more interesting. Sometimes I just take my flip charts, or I cover a wall in white paper. I did that 2 weeks ago when I was still in self-quarantine. I just covered a wall in white flip chart paper, and all of a sudden it looks neat, it looks clean, it looks it looks very kind of empty, but at the same time it gives you a canvas. So if you want to draw, if you want to do something. So well done, Juliet. I'm so proud of you doing that first workshop.
Thank you. I'll get you one of those. It's a Masai shuka. It's the cloth for the Masai community in Kenya. I'll get you one of those.
Oh, that is amazing. I would love that. Just hang on. I want to show you something quickly.
Okay.
It's tucking a little bit, but
we were thinking the same thing now.
You will recognize this, but it doesn't look as beautiful as yours. I love this. I put it over my legs when it's cold.
Yes, lovely.
We got it from the Maasai market.
Yeah. It's beautiful.
And one day we're going to visit you again.
Please do.
When we've all got immunizations against COVID-19, we're going to visit you.
Yes.
Right. Stunning.
You're very welcome.
All right, Johan, I want to say big thank you. Thank you for rerunning the session. I've learned a lot of new tricks, and Howard's like clapping hands. Howard sent us the most beautiful testimonial. He says, thank you, Brand Love. You're doing awesome. One of the best webinar design leaders by far, because of the technical, creative, innovative design skills and learning by doing. Thank you, Howard. You make me very happy. I'm going to cry in a moment. So, you know what
I meant that. I meant that because I go from one webinar to the other. I go to the Design Thinkers Academy webinar, the Scottish service design webinar. I go to yours, and I go to a couple more. Yours by far is hard skills, pragmatic setup, and it's awesome in that sense. Everything that I've written there, I meant it.
All right, stunning, Howard. Thank you so much. And I've left a sketch, animated sketch note on LinkedIn of what Johan's just discussed with us. So go and like that and make a few comments. That would just help us spread the word. The more we can transfer skills to people and inspire them and get them to be creative, the healthier their spirits will remain during this time. So do spread the word. We've got every Wednesday afternoon at 3 o'clock, we've got laughter yoga. Kids are welcome, dogs are welcome, plants are welcome, cacti is welcome. And every Friday we do sketch noting at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So I'm still working on the topic for tomorrow. So we're sketch noting every Friday and laughter every Wednesday. And we'll add a few more workshops as we go along. So just watch our LinkedIn, watch our Brand Love Facebook page. We usually announce all of our stuff on there and spread the word so that we can uplift people and keep them creative. All right, stunning. Very good, very good. Yay. Have a nice day, guys. Enjoy.
Bye.
Bye.